We are currently in the greatest wealth generation era humanity has ever seen.
Highlight some of the things that I believe put us in a better situation today, that you as an investor, even if you're just starting out, even if you don't have really any assets, that you as an investor today have it better, you have bigger opportunities, you have more opportunity to create wealth today than anybody else throughout any time throughout human history. In fact, today is the best time in existence to be an investor. And there's a number of reasons why. One of them is that the way that we used to create wealth, think about it 50 years ago, just the boomer generation. The way that you were limited in creating wealth was primarily through buying real estate. In most cases, it was buying a home. You could get a mortgage and homes were affordable. So that was one thing that they had that we don't have now. Homes are unaffordable. 50 years ago, homes were affordable. That's a big win because land and homes are very valuable over time, especially if you're in a high population area that has a growing population and low crime. You'll have land go up like crazy when you have that circumstance. But while that was a benefit, there was many negatives and drawbacks that they had to deal with during those time periods. Owning land is difficult to do. People from different countries, people from different states can't always buy land in the best places. It's very geographically limited. Unless you happen to live in those specific places where buying land was a great deal, you were just left out of it. The other option was to invest in stocks. Investing in stocks is very easy, but 50 years ago, investing in stocks was an entirely different ballgame. Free trades were not a thing. Trades were expensive. Going back far enough, it cost up to $150 to execute a trade. And that was $150 back then, which would be even more expensive because of inflation. So buying individual stocks had a high barrier to entry. Every single trade had fees associated with it, every single one. On top of that, there wasn't really ETFs. Those didn't exist. The thing that people invested in were mutual funds. Mutual funds that had high expense ratios. In most cases, the mutual funds had 2% fees associated with them. So your only investment at the time was either to buy individual stocks with $150 trades or mutual funds with 2% fees, making it very difficult. And on top of that, there was also a lack of education. People did not know enough about the stock market 30 to 50 years ago. And I know this because my dad talks about it. My dad is 40 years older than me. He talks about how when he grew up, there was no YouTube. There was no online education freely available about learning about stocks. He had no concept of what stocks were. They were basically just akin to gambling. That's all it was. You were gambling if you were putting your money in the stock market. And there wasn't a lot of education, material, content, videos, podcasts to be able to explain how stocks worked or what they did. There also wasn't that many freely available or cheap websites like Qualtrim.com that could make it so you could learn about a company after a couple minutes, that you could look closely at the financials, that you could see the company's history visually illustrated. The lack of education made it incredibly difficult for investors to actually understand the stock market. Only very few of them did at the time. Now we live in a time that's much better. First of all, we no longer have to deal with mutual funds. Now we have ETFs with zero fees. Some of them have 0.08%, but it's de minimis. It's non-impactful to your future. So you can go ahead and buy any ETF at any point. And when you buy it, you also have no trading fees. Most standard brokerages now, in fact, globally, the majority of them do not charge fees for trades. You can go in and buy these companies at any point with zero trading fees. And that is why today, I believe we are at the best point throughout human history to be an investor. And we have the most opportunities to generate wealth on an ongoing basis with the least amount of work required than we've ever had before. And I believe there's a lot of things that play into this. First of all, the stock market or the public equity market is by far the best wealth generation machine ever created by human history. We have the tool, the vehicle to generate wealth that's better than anything else. It's better than real estate. It's better than buying land. It's better than all these different various investments, buying fine painting or signs, whatever that may be. Having a public equity market where you can buy compounding machines, the best companies in the world that generate cash on an ongoing basis on a predictable and growing manner. These are world-class companies. They have public oversight. They have audits on a quarterly basis. They are regulated. This is the best opportunity that we have. We also live in a time period where we have multiple massive points of innovation. We've already gone through the internet boom, but that's still playing out. The internet is still a massive opportunity to generate wealth. But then you layer upon that internet, now we have artificial intelligence, LLMs. We have tools creating massive amounts of efficiencies. Then on top of that, you're going to have robotics as the next wave. We have a compounding effect of long-term catalysts driving this market higher, making it so that the publicly traded companies, the vehicles in which we can invest, can generate higher margins, better earnings, and faster revenue growth. So we have the best investment vehicles in the world that should continue to grow for the next 5 to 10 years at a massive rate.
The stock market is the greatest wealth generation machine ever created because you can own shares of compounding, audited, world-class companies that grow predictably with zero barriers to entry and complete global accessibility. Not to mention, today offers unprecedented opportunities to earn incomes through side businesses, gig economy, overseas talent, and digital education, making it easier to start a business now than ever before. I'll come on to that in a moment, but firstly, the stock market. Public equity markets are a tried and tested wealth generation machine because you can own compounding world-class companies which previous generations just didn't have either the knowledge or access to. Real estate was the traditional wealth builder. Buy a home, get a mortgage, watch it appreciate over decades, but real estate has massive limitations. It's geographically constrained. You can only buy property where you live or can afford to travel to. It's illiquid. Selling can take months and costs 5-6% in fees. It's indivisible. You can't buy $100 of real estate. You need tens or hundreds of thousands, and it requires active management, maintenance, tenants, repairs, etc. On the other hand, public equities limits every one of those constraints. You can buy shares in the best companies anywhere in the world from your phone. Want to own Apple, Nvidia, or Tesla? Done in 30 seconds and often with zero fees. That's a level of global accessibility which is impossible with real estate. You're going to struggle to buy Manhattan real estate from Iowa or South Africa, but you can own shares in companies operating in Manhattan. And not to mention the fact that these companies and stocks you can buy have a proven track record of being compounding machines. Real estate appreciates but doesn't compound earnings. A house doesn't get more productive year over year, but companies do. A big tech company could generate $10 to $100 billion in profit, reinvest in R&D and buybacks, and then the following year generate 10% more profit and rinse and repeat again. It's true compounding, growing earnings exponentially over time. And this operates in a world with quarterly audits and public oversight, meaning you get transparency in these investments, which real estate has never had. You know exactly what Apple's revenue, margin, and cash flow are every 90 days. Try getting that visibility into whether your real estate investment is performing well. You're guessing based on comparable sales and hoping your property doesn't develop any foundational issues. There's an argument to be said that cash generation from best-in-class companies can be volatile property rental income. Microsoft Cloud revenue is growing 20% plus annually with 70% gross margins. Your rental property might have a tenant who stops paying and you can't evict for months. Public companies with durable competitive advantages have a history of generating cash through recessions, wars, and even pandemics, proving their resilience. But equity markets are just one wealth creation avenue. There's never been more opportunity to build income directly. Today offers unprecedented opportunities to build wealth through side businesses, gig economy work, overseas talent arbitrage, and digital education. For me, it took 5 to 10 years worth of effort to get from a day job to operating my own business, but I strongly believe that almost anyone can figure out something with persistence and the free tools now available. The landscape has completely transformed from 50 years ago when wealth creation was limited to buying homes or expensive stock trades. The internet has a massive opportunity to generate wealth, and with artificial intelligence and large language models creating massive amounts of efficiencies, I believe there's no reason why you can't figure something out if you want to generate some more cash or wealth. The barrier to starting a business has collapsed to nearly zero. 50 years ago, starting a business required physical storefronts, inventory, employees, and potentially massive capital. Today, you can start an online business with a laptop and internet connection. The gig economy can provide instant income. Drive for Uber, deliver for DoorDash, freelance on Upwork. No permission needed, no capital required, start earning today. And if you live in a Western economy, which most of the viewers of this channel do, the talent arbitrage is game changing. You can hire skilled workers in other markets, which may cost a quarter or a fifth of what they might do in the US or Western Europe. That means a solo entrepreneur can build a sophisticated business with a small team, which previously would have taken a lot of upfront capital. You now have access to a global talent pool that previous generations couldn't have even imagined. Digital courses and free education mean you can learn almost anything and any skill. Want to learn coding? Free resources from places like Free Codecamp, YouTube tutorials, and other documentation. Marketing, thousands of free courses, video editing, tutorials everywhere. Previous generations needed expensive college degrees or trade schools. And today, the limiting factor is motivation and time, not access to knowledge. For me, it took me 5 to 10 years to get to a point where I have a business I own, which gives me a reasonable income and an opportunity to expand my income over time. It wasn't a get rich quick, but after building valuable skills, establishing a business, and growing a side hustle, which eventually took over to become my main gig, did take years of consistent effort, but this is a path that exists and is accessible to anyone willing to put in the work. I didn't achieve something historic, but it is something which historically would have been way harder to do. My main business is a content agency. I help people scale using YouTube. This YouTube channel is actually an additional side income on top of that, which I'm using to invest into my business. But YouTube alone has created millionaires from nothing. People building audiences, creating content, monetization through ads, sponsorships, course, products, promoting their business. That entire career path didn't exist 15 years ago. The same with podcasting, newsletter businesses, social media influencing, entirely new wealth creation avenues that are still growing. So the combination of all these things is very powerful. You could start with gig economy for cash flow here and there. Use that to fund new skills, perhaps through paid courses, but you can also get this stuff as free education too. Build something leveraging overseas talent to keep costs low. Scale it while working a day job. And who knows, after iteration and hard work, you might be in a place where you can build real wealth and skills that compound in a way that previously would have been very difficult. The tools and access exist today in ways they never had before. The only question is whether you'll use them. YouTube isn't just entertainment, it's one of the best client acquisition tools because it builds trust at scale. We've helped businesses grow from scratch to a $100,000 a month just by launching them a YouTube channel. Book a call with me below and let's see how YouTube could help your business scale.